Hello, I'm Chris Wilson, here with Avneesh Singh to talk about the work we've been doing in the Advisory Board, together with Svea Siegman, Tontek Celik, and the rest of the Advisory Board, to map out a vision and strategy for the W3C. Moving to slide 2. First, we'd like to lay out the motivation for what we're trying to do. As we work to redefine the W3C as a single legal entity, it seems like a good time to take stock and openly declare what the W3C stands for, what our vision for the web is, what principles we hold dear, and how we plan to go about driving these principles into practice. We need these principles clearly laid out, especially as we look for sponsors to help us make this transition. We need to assemble support and funding for our mission, and to do that, we need to declare what that mission is. Additionally, there's a transition happening in the expectation of privacy on the web right now, and we need to provide the framework for how the web can address those concerns. Also, the COVID-19 pandemic has underscored, as Jeff's talk mentioned, how critical the web has been to all our lives, and how its importance has grown swiftly even just in the past year. And finally, as we look at how the web's growth will continue, we need to chart out how to reach the unconnected web, how we can make the web a reality for the next billion users and the next billion after that. We see these as multiple progressive steps on slide 3, identifying the values we hold dear and enshrining these durable, strong principles to guide our actions, and then defining the high-level purpose of what we believe the organization is responsible for. And then finally, turning all of that into actionable strategic goals. In short, we've been working on mapping out the course for the W3C to turn vision into action for the next 5 to 10 years. I'll also mention, on slide 4, that we have been working on this for some time, both with the strategy priority that Avneesh has been championing with Svea, and with the vision priority that Tontek and I have been working together on. We've currently put these efforts together into one place on GitHub, and we encourage you to participate. We have invited feedback and input since the beginning on the vision with our issue tracker and breakout sessions at TPAC last fall, and we've been incorporating that feedback as we go. Moving on to slide 5. As we put this together into one story, we began by enumerating what we felt were the core values of the web itself. First, that the web is for everyone, not just a privileged few. And secondly, that it's designed for the good of its users, first and foremost, above any other participating party. And most critically, the web must be safe for those users to use. The ability to safely visit sites and use applications on the web without fear of security issues is paramount to the web's success. And finally, there is only one interoperable worldwide web. And this is why the activity with China on mini-apps is so important. Different technological infrastructures are in play, but we need to bring them together into one web. These values have been true of the web for a very long time, but we wanted to expand on these core values with slide 6 by defining the principles of how the W3C must operate. I should mention this work is based on the excellent work of the TAG on their ethical web principles, and it builds on those principles, but it's directed toward the organization, not specific to technical decisions. Now, the W3C, first and foremost, must put the needs of users above those of authors, of implementers, any of us member companies, or theoretical purity. Our work should not be exclusively dominated by any particular person, company, or interest group. And we must continue to ensure that the web can work for everyone. We have to strive for inclusion across geography, culture, language, accessibility needs, identities, and more. Accessibility and internationalization have long been core principles of the web. We must continue to champion them and expand on those needs. We must make the web even more trustworthy, ensuring the security and control of privacy for users. As I mentioned earlier, the privacy needs of the web have evolved, just as security needs evolved for the web in the early 2000s. We must revisit the current web platform and explore how we can responsibly improve personal privacy for users. Another core principle is that the web was never intended to be centralized. We must continue to ensure the diversity of content on the web can grow organically. And of course, as the W3C, we have a strong commitment to interoperability and openness, with a royalty-free patent policy and open copyright licenses. That must continue as it is core to our development process. And finally, we must encourage the web to innovate and incubate in new areas and industries. The web of today is much different from the web of the early 1990s, and I'm sure the web in another 25 years will be even more different. We believe each of these principles must be put into action. So we next consider what role or purpose the W3C should play. On slide 7, we detail this purpose as fourfold. First and foremost, our mission is to provide that open forum for discussion among organizations of all sizes, and we must ensure that standards are developed by broad consensus across the ecosystem, across companies, across industries. But fundamentally, our purpose is to maintain and develop that evolving web architecture, which we wanted to note addresses continually evolving use cases. What the web can do as a platform today, as I said before, is radically advanced from what it could do as a platform 25 years ago. Then finally, we added an aspirational goal of building and maintaining strong, respected relationships with governments and businesses to provide them with credible advice about the web. Now, of course, we must have specific strategic initiatives to turn these principles and purpose into action. And although we have not completely finalized the details, to talk about the strategic goals, I'd like to invite Avneesh to take over the presentation at this point. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Hello, everyone. I'm Avneesh Singh. I'm also from Advisory Board. I have been interacting with you for past few months for developing the organization strategy. Thank you for providing such nice inputs. Now let's move to slide 8. We have just gone through the values of the web, the purpose and the principles of W3C, which provide the overall direction of the organization. At the same time, we also need to focus on what are the things that we need to work on for the next few years. And this prioritization is provided by the strategic goals. Here, the rubber meets the road. The goals are determined on the basis of the threats and opportunities in the environment and also the evolving competencies. We have seen that the world has changed a lot in just last 2 years. The unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic, the Black Lives Matter movement, the increasing misuse of information, the personal information on the web for political and the personal gains. These have provided us opportunities for driving some of our goals more aggressively. At the same time, these has also helped us in identifying what are the gap areas on which we need to focus on in coming years. So we have identified 7 high-level strategic goals. Some of these are focused on technical work, some of these are focused on community building, and some of them are persistent or evergreen goals. So let's go through them one by one. We all know that web has helped in solving many problems of the society. At the same time, there are some dark aspects of the web that we cannot ignore. For example, the online fraud, the security breaches, the fake news, and more. Last year, the web became the lifeline during the pandemic. At the same time, the bad deeds on the web also increased exponentially. So this is the time that we really need to ensure that the web platform improves users' integrity, privacy, and security. Let's move to the next goal. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the way we work, the way we interact. During the pandemic, a large portion of human population moved online for all their essentials. At the same time, there were some segments of the users, some parts of the society which were left behind. People with disabilities, people who are not able to use the web in their native languages. This made us realize that although we have done great work on accessibility and internationalization, we need to re-emphasize our efforts on these two things to achieve the goal of web for everyone. Next goal, the COVID-19 pandemic also brought many use cases of the web in the center stage. The real-time communication, online payments, machine learning, and artificial intelligence all became more significant. And these have provided us some great opportunities for evolving the web. So the next goal is all about leveraging incubation to evolve the web for addressing the evolving user needs. Now, let's move to the community building goals, because we all know that we are more than an organization, we are a community. We all know that it's very essential to have worldwide participation for developing the worldwide standards. And the prerequisite for it is diversity and inclusion. Last year, we have seen how the Black Lives Matter movement in United States started building a lot of awareness on this. The movement started in the United States, but it inspired many other minorities in different parts of the world to start fighting for their rights, for their inclusion. So this awareness building has provided us a great opportunity to emphasize our work on achieving the worldwide participation, inclusion, and diversity to establish W3C as the representative of the worldwide community. Next goal, we have talked about the evolution of the web, but the evolution is only possible if we have the representation of all the key stakeholders. So the next goal is focused on increasing the involvement of the underrepresented key stakeholders like the representatives of the end users, the web developers, the content creators, etc. Now let's move to the persistent or the evergreen goals, which are not dependent on the opportunities. The first one of these two is all about facilitating the balance among the participating organizations. We want to avoid a situation in which one organization or one group dominate the web standards. We have witnessed the uncomfortable situations like this in the past. And now also, many of us are debating the effect of increasing dependency on one browser developer. The balance is also important to ensure that the standards and the guidelines developed by us are able to meet the business needs of the participating members. The next goal is all about establishing and improving the collaborative relationship with the other organizations in the domain of internet and web standards. So this was the overview of the draft strategy goals, and we are looking forward for your further inputs. Now let's move to slide 9, the branding highlights. We all know that the W3C brand is built by the collective efforts of all of us, all of our work put together. At the same time, we also need to be careful how do we communicate our brand. So we have identified 3 main points that we should keep in our mind when we communicating our brand. Let's go through these. The first one goes deep into who we are. We are an open forum where diverse voices from different parts of the world and different industries come together, incubate, and build the global standards for web technologies. We also want to emphasize that we are socially responsible. We are committed to ensure that web is for everyone. We greatly emphasize accessibility, internationalization, privacy, security, and very important, diversity. And the third point is very important from the historical perspective. We develop open and royalty-free standards with high focus on interoperability and collective empowerment. Let's move to slide 10. So this was the overview of all the building blocks, the values of the web, the purpose, the principles, the strategic goals, and the branding highlights. All these are the components for providing the direction to W3C. Thanks to all of you who have been providing us the inputs continuously. We are trying to incorporate the inputs as we move ahead. Please keep on providing us the inputs. On this slide, you can see the link to the repository. Looking forward to your inputs on the repository and looking forward to talking to you in the AC meeting. Thank you.